Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Politics Now. We're talking about modern politics and modern America. And today, DeSantis, he's just on an absolutely baffling losing streak. How do you lose this badly? So, yeah, let's just get into that. So, Trump has been staying relatively consistent. He's been staying in the mid 50s mark. He's been there for a long time. He's been there for almost 5 months at this rate, and he's just staying at the 50s. And ever since that point where Trump reached the 50s, DeSantis has fallen and fallen and fallen. He's gone from around 30 points when Trump started to really boost in popularity, and now he's sitting at 13 points, which, if you're winning a nomination, you can't be at 13 points. I thought it was bad enough when he was at around 14 or even 15 points. I thought that was going to be the flatlining point where he can't go any lower than that. Yet he still surprises me with how low he can go in the polls. How low can he possibly go? Now it's seeming like single digits are a real possibility. 3%, 2%. I swear he'll probably hit zero at this rate. He has continued to fall in the polls, and I don't know when it's going to stop. He has chosen every single bad decision for running a campaign for a primary nomination. He has picked every wrong decision. He has taken every wrong direction. And somehow he still impresses everyone with how far he can fall. He was winning in a bunch of states before he announced. In polling in like Texas, a lot of these other states, he was still beating Trump. Maybe not by a lot, but he was still beating him in a lot of these states that went for Trump in 2020 and relatively are very Trump friendly. He may have not won them in 2016, but they became more Trump friendly. DeSantis was on a real winning streak, and he was pretty much tied with Trump. Well, there was like a 10-point difference, but still, in a lot of these states where you need to win the nomination, he was relatively tied with a lot of these big hitters like Texas and Florida and California even. And now he is losing in every single state, and he's losing very, very badly in the national poll. How do you lose by 40 points and still believe that you can win the nomination? You are doing terribly. You aren't even like Ramaswamy, who basically went from nothing all the way up to third place. You aren't even having that success where, yeah, you're at Ramaswamy is at 8%, but he still has done an impressive thing, and he is very, very clearly trying to shoot for a cabinet position, which at this rate he'll probably get. But now DeSantis, he doesn't have any future in any public office now because he had to jump the gun so early and run in a race that he knew he was going to lose, but he was deluded enough to think that he actually had a shot. And look where that got him. Now, a ton of people who supported him now hate his guts for running against Trump. And now, a lot of voters in Florida don't even like him. You look at his favorability polls, he is doing terribly. You see, even here, he was vastly approved compared to his unfavorable ratings, where he was in pro favorable. He was at like plus 3.3 favorable, and now it's a plus 13.6 shift towards unfavorability. And his favorability is in the low 30s, while his unfavorability is almost hitting 50. That is not good. You are not going to win any public office in Florida, especially, and you are not going to win a nomination. You're not going to win a Senate race. You're not going to win a House race because you had to jump the gun so early. You turned off a ton of voters and you picked every wrong decision to show that you are not a viable candidate. You are not more electable because when it comes to policy strategy and campaign strategy, you have shown that you are completely inadequate to actually carry that out. So DeSantis, he's overwhelmingly disapproved. He's hated by a lot of people in Florida now because he ran against Trump. He's hated by a lot of Trump voters because he ran against Trump. He's hated by a lot of conservatives because he's been appealing towards the more establishment neocon territory of the Republican Party, and he really has nowhere to go. He's hitched his wagon to the neocon part of the Republican Party. He's essentially jumped onto a sinking, burning boat, and he is destined to stay there no matter how much he wants to leave. He has completely dedicated himself to somewhat preserving a completely dead ideology within the Republican Party. Con- Neoconservatism died with George Bush, and it is continuing to die with Trump. So if you are hitching your wagon to that, it's not going to turn out very well, and you are going to sink with that ship, and you're only going to have yourself to blame. And that is very true for DeSantis. He is going to sink with that ship, has no one to blame but himself. And he is going to have to deal with the consequences of hitching your wagon towards a dead ideology that died almost 10 years ago. So DeSantis, it's not worth that at this point. He he would do better if he dropped out right now. He would save himself the embarrassment of losing a primary in every single state. That would be extremely embarrassing. Maybe he could save some of the credibility. I don't think he really has any credibility, but he could save some of that and sort of build it up to sort of recoup from the damage that the primary election caused him. But no, of course he's not going to do that. He's going to run it into the ground. He could be scoring in negatives. They would invent a negative polling just for DeSantis, and he would still be in the race. He would still run that to the ground. He's going to be there until the very end, the very last state. He is going to be in the election, just desperately hoping that he can somehow turn it around, and he's not going to turn it around. He's at 13%. He has nowhere to go. Trump is going to be the nominee, whether he likes it or not, and he has no chance of becoming a vice president, no chance of even being in the cabinet, and no chance of any further public office. So, yeah, DeSantis running in 2024 was a pretty stupid decision, and a lot of the other Republican governors knew it was a stupid decision. That's why you don't see people like Ted Cruz running or Glenn Youngkin. They're not running because they can see, oh, I'm going to lose to Trump. Why would I give up my governorship just to, you know, run in this race? And I know Ted Cruz is a senator. Sorry. Yeah, but the same thing still applies to Ted Cruz. If he dropped out of his Senate position just to run against Trump, that's a stupid idea because Ted Cruz has already lost to Trump. He already lost in 2016, and he is not going to run against Trump again. He might run if Trump serves his second term and isn't in the race anymore. He'll probably run, but it's not very likely that he'll win. He's not even well liked in his own state. So DeSantis, he's in the same boat as uh, Ted Cruz and Jeb Bush and all these other candidates who are former public office holders who ran against Trump and lost. And they had the naive idea that somehow they could win, even though deep in their heart, they knew they were going to lose. They knew they stood no chance, and they hitched their wagon to a dead ideology that continues to crash and burn to this very day. So, DeSantis, you are completely lost in this primary, and you are not going to win. You are down in the polls. And when it comes to the electability argument, which that's pretty much the final remaining argument that is constantly brought up for DeSantis supporters, well, you look at the electability. Trump has the general election polls, which is really fighting for the popular vote. He's got it within 1 point. And this is Trump we're talking about. He never did well in the polls in 2016 or 2020. He was always down in high single digits against his opponent. And the fact that it's this close, and a lot of polls even say that Trump is up, and a lot of polls only say that Biden is up one or it's a tie, that is pretty good for Trump because that shows that even the popular vote, if he's the nominee, even that is under threat for Joe Biden. And comparing that to DeSantis, Trump blows him out of the water. DeSantis is at about 5 points for Biden, which that's not even within the margin of error. Within the margin of error, say that we had like 2016 margins of error where it was like a 4 point difference, that still is not enough to save DeSantis because you would need to have a margin of error not only for pro DeSantis, everything goes for DeSantis, but that would be an almost 5 point error, which, yeah, that's not really accurate at all, where you have a +5 error. That's a historic record. That's like beyond 2016. And 2016, all the polls were wrong. All of them were pro Clinton, and they completely got them all wrong. And that wasn't even by much, it was by like 3 or 4 points. This is +5, and you would have to have 2016 levels of poll tampering, and you would need to have all of that go for DeSantis, and you would need to have a bigger spread and a bigger shift for DeSantis than Trump had in 2016. So, DeSantis, you're not more electable. You aren't going to win. So, drop out, save your reputation, and hopefully you could maybe find more public office. But right now, it's not looking good for you. So if you think DeSantis could win, which he won't, he just won't. It's not he's just not going to win. It's pretty simple. Leave that in the comments below and explain your reason why he maybe could turn it around. I honestly don't know. He probably won't. Uh, if you think Trump could win, which, yeah, it's pretty obvious by this point, leave that in the comments below. If you think any of these other idiots could win, leave that in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.